Hello everyone, today I'm working on this ST35 Norfolk and Western 1521. So these are pretty cool actually. This one used to be Norfolk and Western. Somebody repainted it for Norfolk Southern. When they took over, they just blacked out the N and W and they ran them like that. So that, believe it or not, is quite accurate except for the number here. And it could use a little bit more detail. I put a temporary horn back on. I'm actually gonna repaint all of this and check it out. It's got everything. It's got all the handrails and the two couplers are in great shape, so I don't need to do anything on that. I might have to do a little bit of mechanical. This little guy, the little pins out of place, but mostly the handrails are great. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to work on the paint first. I've got a little bit of work to do on the mechanical side. On the drive side, I'll do a little bit of work. You can still barely see the Norfolk and Western on there. So I checked it out. Norfolk Southern, they only had 6 of these, so they were pretty worn out when they took them over, and I guess they let them go pretty quick. All right, let's get to work. Removing the shell, I used the box method. Really easy. So this is DCC compatible, so that's really cool. These engines are keepers. So I'm going to disassemble the whole shell. I have to take out the windows before I paint it, and the number boards and the headlights. I have to take that out. I also take out the couplers because they work better if they're not painted. So this is kind of a neat project. It gave me a chance to do some research. I bought some decals. These were actually really cheap. Norfolk Southern Operation Lifesaver. I got a good deal on them. Unfortunately, none of the SD35s got that paint job, so I just let it go. I'll do the Norfolk Southern patch paint job, and that will be good. I'm also going to take out all these handrails. That takes a lot of time, so I'm going to do it off camera. So that wasn't too bad. It went pretty well. So I keep all my parts in one place, because that could be pretty sad if you lose something. And then I'll just detach the top of the shell from the bottom. I always start from the back. And then wiggle that over. The windows also hold the shell in a little bit. So I'll just pry on that gently. These are a little bit brittle though, but that's how that goes. That is just the way the cookie crumbles. So that's gonna go to painting. I'm just gonna spread out the cab a little bit to allow it to come off. Oh, my horn fell off. So I've got to keep tabs on that. This one, it's blue. It's dark blue, so I'm gonna want to keep it on there for when I paint. It'll paint everything black at the same time. So you just press on the side windows. They should separate pretty easily. So there goes that. And the number boards and the headlights are also a little bit of a pain to get, but it's still doable. Actually harder to put them back in. So I put my shell back all together, and it's not super dirty, but I'm still gonna want to wash it before I paint it, just to be on the safe side, because they do accumulate quite a bit of dust over time. So, better safe than sorry. My paint job that I use is actually not 100% dust free. So I have to keep track on that too. I mean, I'm taking a risk by repainting it. It could go good, it could go bad. But I'm sure it's gonna look better in the end. I'm gonna give this time to dry thoroughly before I go ahead and start painting. So while my water is drying off, I'm gonna work on my drive system. This actually I have cleaned and lubricated it before, but when it goes down the track, it does a little click click sound. I'm gonna put it on the track for you guys, see if I can make it do it today. It won't do it today, even under load. Runs nice and quiet. It's a miracle, it's healed. That's awesome. More and more, what I do is I'll take a piece of cardboard and I'll put some scotch tape on it. If you're gonna do model painting, especially N scale, or if you're gonna do Hot Wheels, it's good to get yourself a tool called Helping Hands. That's got a million uses, the Helping Hands. But that's what I do. I'll stick the piece of cardboard in my Helping Hands and I'll stick it to the side of the engine like that. That allows me to paint under and to really move it around any way that I like to get the paint where I like it. So that solves a lot of issues. So I stick that in my Helping Hands and I can paint. Okay, so as you paint, you want to start with just droplets. So you start with just droplets. I always start from under. And I make sure I get both sides of the locomotive. So I just go like that from under. And then I'll just let the droplets land on it. I'm going to do, because it's already black, I'm going to do just one coat. That's going to be enough. So I'm looking through the reflections and I just want to do little droplets on it. And I go all around the engine with droplets, and then I'll do a second pass, and as the droplets come together, that's it. I'll stop right there. So I'm going to do just one very thin coat, and then that's it. I'll stop right there, and that's good. And I'll just let it dry for a couple of days. So my shell came back from the paint shop. It's very shiny. So that's just one coat. I forgot to paint my horn, so I'm gonna do it on the bench there. So now I've got to gather up all my decals. So I put the water on the engine and then I slide the decals off. They're not quite ready yet. Get yourself a picture of the prototype. That way you can have all the correct info readily available. Then you can just slide them into place. Toothpicks, they have a million uses. I took my time, I made sure everything was lined up properly, and I put these little tiny little decals, which I find they're a lot of fun, and scale's very small, and you might not really see them very clearly, but yet you do. It's amazing how precise our eyes are. So that is very shiny. So I'm gonna put a coat of dull coat. I mean, you could run your engine like that, it would be okay. You know, it looks like a freshly shopped unit. One of these days I'm gonna do that. Just have a freshly shopped unit, but this is a patch engine, so it was quite a bit worn out, so I'll put some dull coat on that. So while my dull coat is drying, I'm gonna paint my safety rails. So I will let that dry for a day. Since I don't have to do anything to my drive, I'm gonna fix this freight car for you. Like most of you, I really appreciate the Microtrains freight cars. They are great. They run great and they look great. I also have a bunch of these. These are the Bachmann starter set freight cars, and they look okay. And I like them because they roll very well. They roll very well. I'm going to convert it with a knuckle coupler. But I really like the way they roll going down the track. So I keep them around, have a bunch of spare parts for them. I like them because they have the metal wheels and they're free rolling. So that is a good combination for me. Most of them have screws, and as you come in and tighten this, you want it to be tight but not too tight. So what I do is I'll back it up maybe an eighth. It has to be allowed to swivel freely, but if you have too much slack, it will allow the car to wobble side to side, so you don't want that. So you back it out just maybe an eighth of a turn, if that. Yeah, this is what I like. They're just free rolling. Now that is well tuned. It really is a riot to play with these. I remember playing with my Hot Wheels as a kid. Alright, enough goofing around. With the dull coat, it looks much more professional. So I'm going to put my windows back on. To get the windows back on, I have to take the shell apart. So I'm going to do that. And since I have the sill in my hands, this is the easiest time to come in and do couplers. So these just fit in there, nice and easy. And then I have to put the little screw. That is not always easy. This is why this is the best time to do this, because you have the best access to everything. So yeah, when I started with this engine, it was a little bit drab. Now we put a little bit of extra detail on it. You'll see with the yellow handrails, that's going to help it quite a bit. Just have to line up my screw properly. And then that's that. You do the exact same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to put the handrails back on. That I don't think makes a very exciting video while watching me put on the handrails, but I enjoy doing it, so that won't be a problem. Basically, you just line them up where they should go, and they'll just find their little hole. There's no trick to this. Basically, you start the first one, and then the others, they will just line up for you, and you push them in very slowly. I don't think this makes a super interesting video, but this is a type of work that has to be done, and you just keep going like that till you have them all in. I don't always do the safety rails every time, but because this one was a little bit Spartan with just the unit number, I decided to do them. So that makes a big difference. Really makes it look good. Now I can put my shell back on its drive. Oops, before I put pressure on it, I better have it lined up properly. And now it's time to, hey, wait a minute. I forgot my horn. You can't run trains without a horn. So I'm gonna put that back on. And now it's time to run some trains. Well, I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly had fun making it for you. See you soon.